Hey, it's Mark watching MTC Media with another episode of Mornings with Mook, our periodic kind of podcast video that touches on stuff that is recent, usually for the night before, the day before, even the morning of, in case you're wondering what this episode's purpose is. So sometimes I'm in my home studio, sometimes I'm getting coffee from one of the local places or chains, so on and so forth. But let's get to it. We are going to start off with, there was an article in the Atlantic, about Pat McAfee. And it was an article that kind of took some shots at him. He's not a real journalist. He is an athlete, so on and so forth. And the truth of the matter is in today's age, a lot of times no one is worried about that because there are so many consumption troughs that people don't want necessarily what is considered traditional media. It's not what people want. It's not where the clicks are going. It's not where the eyes are going. And more importantly, it's not where the money is going. The troughs are wide. Some people just want opinion stuff when it comes to sports. They want to be able to have someone have an opinion that's a big name person. They go to work or, they're in their group chat and they're talking about their opinion and how they feel about that person's opinion, so on and so forth. And that's their water cooler, so to speak, sports talk. Some people, and I will put myself in this category, loves the consumption of data analytics drilled down as far as it can go. So, I like stuff that Hollinger writes for the NBA, where it goes and it really interprets and takes a look at the numbers and application of the numbers and so on and so forth. I like that. So, and I have a subscription to Cleaning the Glass and those type of things. That's one of my consumption points. I don't know how many people feel like they need for the media to tell you what is the high character of an athlete. This athlete's a good guy, this athlete's a bad guy, or to explain the game to you. Yes, this coach made a mistake because he did. People just don't feel like they need that anymore. In the information era that we live in, a lot of people feel like they already have enough of a knowledge or just as much knowledge as someone in the quote unquote traditional media to know what has happened on the floor, on the field, and they don't need for you to interpret it for them. They don't need for you to be the expert in the room that's kind of the liaison between the coach and the athlete and, Harry Homemaker. That's just not the world we live in. And so I can understand that there's criticism of Pat McAfee. I don't watch his show or listen to his podcast, but I understand if you're looking for things to be traditional, or if you're still in the industry and you're watching it kind of sink in quicksand, and have a non-traditional model so it can stay afloat, I can understand that you're going through what other industries have gone through to have nothing to do with journalism, where the industry has changed. The industry is more competitive. The industry is offering different things. The industry is more accessible for people to get into it in non-traditional ways. But this is the world we live in, and they're asking for the traditional industries to make the pivot, not the consumer. And probably the sooner you accept that, the more clear you will be on where you are in the ethos of sports consumption. So a big thing this morning is Kyle Kuzma. Why would Kyle Kuzma be the subject of anything this morning? Well, it's very simple. It's just people are rehashing back that Kyle Kuzma was part of a proposed trade, or Michael Winger, who runs the Washington Wizards, had a conversation with Kyle Kuzma about being traded to the Dallas Mavericks. And Kuzma's response, or paraphrasing on a response, was, there's very few teams who are true contenders, and if I'm going to leave here, playing the role and the significance and the ability to get numbers, I want to go to one of those teams that's a true contender. So he didn't want to go to Dallas. And fast forward to today, the Mavericks are one win away from making it to the NBA Finals. So that is why Kyle Kuzma is in the news today. And to be honest with you, the Mavericks ended up going after another Wizard, which ended up being Daniel Gafford, and they went and got PJ Washington from Charlotte. And I don't think anyone in Dallas is really regretting that Kyle Kuzma didn't want to come, because what has happened is Dallas has looked a lot like the last Lakers championship, where they have length and paint protection. Not just rim protection, paint protection. When you have rookie Derek Lively, who I know is going to be out for game 4, and you have Daniel Gafford, and you have those guys who can protect the paint. And even in 2024, guys, that is a needed, it's a needed skill. And though we want to make it seem like everyone needs to be out at the 3-point line and everyone has to be a stretch 4 or a stretch 5, or, as I like to say, a stretch big, because I don't like the number system. I think the number system is completely outdated. I don't use it when I'm coaching. I do not use the number system. But everyone still needs that paint rim protection. That has not gone away. And it literally has helped Dallas get to the finals, because without it, they're not here. They're not here without Lively. They're not here without Gafford. Sure, there's a lot of other things that's been going right for Dallas. Kyrie Irving, who was the punchline at the end of last season by the guys on the NBA radio that does the morning show, Scal and Frank Isola, they could not dog Kyrie enough, as if Kyrie's presence was the worst thing that ever happened to Luka Doncic. And look at their record when they acquired him and all this sort of stuff. And you know what? No one's talking that way now, right? So again, Kyle Kuzma, welcome to the news cycle. Luckily, it's 2024. Your decision will be out of the news cycle by 3:00 today. Look, when I grew up, baseball had a place. And the question for baseball now is, where's your place in the calendar? Long before there was sports trying to be 24 hours and 365, sports kind of ceded over a certain part of calendars to other sports. And for baseball, it was terrific, because what you ended up getting was you end up getting kids out of school, the NBA ending, the NHL ending, football taking a break because it's post-draft, and it was baseball. Even during the NFL preseason when I was growing up, it was baseball. Football was a September thing, and even then you had your eyes on Major League Baseball playoffs. Now that's not true. The NBA runs until, basically June into July, when you want to count the draft and everything else. Football never stops. And I mean never stop. It never stops. And people are even obsessed when you report the training camp in football. And so baseball has kind of lost its place in the calendar. And because of the game, and because of baseball's always resistance to being a player-first sport, it just doesn't have a spot in the landscape. And it's just something that they need to come to grips with, is that if they want for 162 game season, just like with basketball, with the NBA, with an 82 game season, those are long seasons. The forefront has to be, for this era of consumption, it has to be the players. It cannot be the coaches. It cannot be the teams. It can't. No one's interested in that. I look at what happened to Mike Trout. Mike Trout should have been all on my television in his prime. The guy was punished by playing with the Angels. And so baseball didn't get out of Mike Trout what they could have gotten out of Mike Trout, and it's their fault. They need to make this game fun again. If you want to make the game fun again for this upcoming generation, it's got to be player-led. And, the sooner the Major League Baseball understands that, I know they try pitching clocks and shortening up games and so on and so forth, but the sooner that they understand that they need a player-led product, the more competitive they'll be in the calendar market. It's Mark Washington, MTC Media.